Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the first leg of a 50-cent pick four at Penn National on Penn Mile Friday. This is the $150,000 Penn Oaks. We're going a mile on the turf, 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. Nice to see 12 in here. Horseshoe Indianapolis's loss is Penn National's gain. I believe 8 of these fillies were entered in their stakes race that was canceled due to weather, so they're in the Penn Oaks instead.
Like this race, a big field here, kind of handicapped wide open, Dan. I think there are a lot of different cases to be made for a lot of different horses in here. We'll see what kind of trips they can work out. We'll see how fast this pace gets. It could get pretty fast.
I agree. Let's throw up our Timeform US pace projector. Timeform US thinks it's going to be fast. Poolside with Slim has shown some speed. I talked to Rusty Arnold. He's not sure he wants her to go that fast. I talked to Joe Sharp, the trainer of the 9 Pink Polka Dots. He expects her to break if the ground is firm and go.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Joe Sharp on that one. I get that Poolside with Slim has a little speed. To me, the 9 is just faster. And I feel like even with the outside draw here, there's a real chance she makes the lead.
To Take Me to the Beach is tactical, Pounce is tactical, but I do think the 9 is the speed of the speed. We'll start things off with Take Me to the Beach, who returned off a fairly lengthy layoff to run second in this race, a first-level allowance in her seasonal debut, and I guess this is an okay prep for Take Me to the Beach, Mike, considering the layoff. She was up close to the pace. She just couldn't finish with this horse at the wire, but a good enough effort, and maybe second off the layoff, she'll be tighter, maybe a good trip coming as well from the rail.
Yeah, it feels like she'll need, she moved forward in this race, feels like she'll need another forward move, maybe, Dan, to go with some of these horses, because all in all, this is a pretty strong field that she lands in here. So we'll see how much improvement she has in her. She did, in some ways, get the best of the draw with tactical speed.
Buttercream Babe did some good things as a 2-year-old for trainer Michael Maker, a debut winner at Kentucky Downs, graded stakes placed at Santa Anita going a mile. In her last few races of the 2-year-old campaign into early 3, maybe you could make some excuses. The Breeders' Cup too tough, the wait a while, kind of an outside post and a rush job. Now she's going to go back dirt to turf, second start of the form cycle. Another horse that I think is tactical enough to get a good trip.
Yeah, I looked at her the same way. I wasn't totally convinced that she was good enough to beat all these horses, assuming that everyone shows up here and runs a representative race. So I'm not totally sold on her, Dan, but I'm going to agree with everything you said about her. I mean, there may be some ways to dress her up a little bit off of even those recent losses. I still remember liking her Surfer Girl quite a bit. I know she was only second best in there. Man, was she game chasing there. She just would not give up through the stretch. I really respect that about her.
Poolside with Slim as the number 3. Lone lifetime win came in gate-to-wire fashion over the Tapeta at Gulfstream. Off the top 3 in her 2 subsequent starts, graded stakes. Talking to Rusty Arnold, he felt that she was just unlucky drawing the rail, and it forced their hand to go a little bit faster than they wanted to in the early part of that race. In the Appalachian last time out, she took them down to about the 8th pole before getting tired late.
Yeah, and that was a good field, too. I mean, she did her best in there. I didn't really want to give her any kind of huge excuse that day, but she did her best. She wasn't quite good enough. I don't know, man. I can't say that I love either one of her turf races. I mean, she ran fine both times. I didn't think she ran particularly well in the Florida Oaks, Dan, and I just don't like that as a race overall. She was one of the horses in here who I thought could take a little money, and I'm probably not using her.
And who would have thunk at Frankie Dettori at Penn National? Maybe we get a flying dismount at Penn National after Poolside with Slim. Nice as Pie is the number 4. She won 4 consecutive races over the synthetic surface at Turfway Park, made her turf debut in the Mamzelle sprinting last time out. I talked to Kelsey Danner, and she said that Nice as Pie just sort of kicked the back of the stall just as they broke the gate, and she was behind early. She was coming with a little bit of a late run for Adam Beskiza. It's all about distance. She kind of has like a sprinty pedigree in her female family, but maybe she'll take to the mile. It's not like they're going to ask her a mile and an 1/8.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's interesting here because I do think she has enough excuses for the turf debut last time. And it's not a bad performance overall. I thought she ran okay in there with an excuse. We'll see how she handles the stretch out there. And I think it's also worth pointing out that was 5.5. And she's one of those sprinters who was going 6.5. So maybe the mile's okay. She was so impressive winning those races at Turfway Park on the all-weather. I mean, she's got a big run in her if she can get the right trip.
Jay Rivers, the number 5, is going to be trying turf and is going to be trying distance for the first time for trainer Arnaud de la Cour. I talked to him earlier on Wednesday, and he said he wanted to stretch her out after this horse graduated second time out, but they had an issue with her. They had to back off, and when they came back, she won sprinting, so they ran her in that Turfway synthetic stakes race sprinting last time out. He says he wants to to stretch her out around 2 turns. And again, they just haven't had options because they wanted to run her in that Indiana race.
Right. Listen, if nothing else, she's a wild card in here. She's going to have to run a lot better than she's run so far, but maybe she can do it, Dan. It's unfortunate for them that they got to stretch her out for the first time and try turf for the first time in a race. Sometimes this race doesn't come up that tough. It came up pretty tough this year.
Neon Beach made her career debut on turf at Saratoga last year, showed some speed that day before tiring, switched back to the dirt in her subsequent performances, and she got very good company at Oaklawn Park over the winter and into the spring, just missed in a little state class timeout after being overmatched in races like the Honeybee and the Martha Washington. I think she's okay, Mike. It's all about whether she handles the surface.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I thought her debut at Saratoga was the only turf race. I actually thought it was an okay performance against a pretty good field. I didn't think she ran terribly that day. So maybe ultimately turf will be her surface, Dan. And if it is, I guess she can contend with these horses. She's 5-1 on the morning line. Absolutely not. I would never take that price on her against this field, but I suspect she might drift a little bit.
Crown Imperial earned a stakes victory at Kentucky Downs, going 6.5, a racetrack that might play a little bit longer, and then was grade 2 placed in the Jessamine, her final start as a 2-year-old. I thought her Here Comes the Bride was okay. She was beaten by Pounce that day. She saved ground. She was able to basically get a good trip up the rail, just no match for the 3 favorites. Last time out in the Appalachian, maybe that outside post worked against her.
Yeah, maybe it did. That was a good field too. We already talked that Appalachian's a pretty good field there. I didn't want to be too hard on her for that one, so I was just sort of trying to judge her off of the other races that she's run. And I don't know, I just didn't like any of them enough to really get interested in her. I think she is fairly priced on the morning line because I do think her good race gives her some kind of a chance in here. I just don't really like her races enough.
The Photo Finish tries turf for the first time. This is a New York bred by DeMarchelier, who was a very good turf horse. Both prior 2-turn starts resulted in victories, Mike, but they were on dirt at Charlestown.
Exactly. Listen, she's 50-1 on the morning line for this race with some turf pedigree. So I guess you have those things to hang on to if you're just looking for a bomb in this race.
Pink Polka Dots, the 9, is naturally fast, and she just blitzed 2 turf fields in her first 2 starts at the fairgrounds. Now, I talked to Joe Sharp. They ran her in the Bourbon at Oaks. He said she hated the synthetic surface when she was the beaten favorite. And last time out, all in all, she had a very good trip. Tyler Gaffalione just kind of wrangled her back into the pocket. Joe told me that Tyler told him that when they turned for home, he thought he was going to win, and she just couldn't accelerate on that soft turf course. He says this time Torres is going.
Yeah, maybe the ground worked against her last time. That was a pretty good field too. I mean, all in all, she ran fine in that race. But I think her best game is just let her break the gate running, put her on the front, and see what happens. That was the second win at Fairgrounds, the wire-to-wire allowance victory. She was super impressive that day. She beat a really good horse in Way to Be Marie.
Mark Cassie has the 10 Pounce. I talked to Mark on Wednesday. He said after the sale where she was a buyback, he bought a half share of her for $10,000, and then they sold her for $370 after she won that first level allowance race 3 starts back. Not a bad profit, and not bad when the new owners decide to give them right back to Mark, and it pays off. Her Here Comes the Bride was a very good performance, rallying from the back of the pack to get up over a decent horse in Life's Inaudible. She's shown versatility. Last time out, he was very disappointed with the way she didn't perform. She was bad as the favorite, but again, he really thinks the ground worked against her. He said Javier came back and said she just didn't kick on and give him what she gave him at Gulfstream.
Yeah, maybe the ground is enough of an excuse anyway. Listen, I thought she got a terrible ride in the Appalachian. I'll just say that. She did get bumped at the start, and it just sort of felt like they just, Castellano at that point decided we're just going to go. And he sent her. She's wide around the first turn. She's wide up the backstretch. He never backed off with her. And I just feel like that was a trip that didn't work out. I thought her first 2 turf starts were both really, really good. I like that she did it different ways.
Dazzling Dictator has Flavian Pratt at a price. That's the number 11. And this filly really picked up her game when switched to the synthetic surface 2 and 3 starts back. Now, last time out, they ran her in a stakes race. She just didn't fire at all. It's kind of a disappointing performance. They're going to put the blinkers back on. We'll see about turf. She's bred for it.
She is bred for it. She's run on it once, and I don't think that's the kind of race you necessarily want to hold against her. Still a maiden stretching out for the first time. We'll see how much better she can get, Dan. I guess she's just going to hope this pace projector is right because she doesn't have a lot of speed. She'll probably just try to sit back and make one run here.
Living Magic completes the field for trainer Phil Schoenthal, and I'm sure he's not happy with post position 12. Talking to Phil on Wednesday, he just feels that this filly's had some excuses for her races. They ran her in the synthetic race in her first start off the layoff, the Appalachian. I believe his words were it was a horror show trip. And then last time out in the Memories of Silver, he said he wanted to be on the lead. She hopped at the break. She's in between horses all the way around the track, and she's still punching on to finish fourth. There's something here. I think the film wonders if maybe distance is going to be her best game or if she's going to be a late running sprinter, but I think she's better than she looks on paper.
I agree. She's run well sprinting and routing. So we'll see, what they ultimately decide to do with her. But if nothing else, I'll kind of agree. Maybe I'll half agree with Schoenthal because she did have a brutal trip in the Appalachian and had no chance. Didn't break well last time. I'm not going to sit there and suggest she was going to win, even if she made the lead in there, because that winner of that race was really impressive. So I don't know if she could have beat her anyway, but she had enough of an excuse for me to want to give her another chance. And her post 12 is no bargain. But I agree with you. She's better than she looks on paper.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Penn Oaks. It's a wide open race. You can go so many different ways. And again, it is the kickoff leg of a 50-cent pick four. You're going with Pounce, who has one from on the lead, who has one from off the pace, who looks like she's just got scope for better. And again, I think just she's going to be able to adapt to any sort of pace scenario.
Yeah, I think that she can get the right trip in here. I just hated the trip that she got in her most recent start. And I want to give her a chance to bounce back.
I want to see if Living Magic can maybe get a clear run on the outside here. It's not an easy post position, but I think maybe her price will drift because of it. 12-9, 4-10 for me, 10-9, 12-4 for Mike. Penn Oaks, really nice card at Penn National on Friday. Good luck.